Good morning, everyone. This is Dr. Ward bringing you another word of truth. On the last video, we talked about the food pyramid just a little bit. I mentioned it and said it was the greatest pyramid scheme of all time. And I kind of wanted to discuss that just a little bit. So a little bit of history on the food pyramid. It first was started back in the 1970s by Sweden. And then in 1992, the food pyramid was introduced by the United States Department of Agriculture, the USDA. And it was called the Food Guide Pyramid or the Eating Right Pyramid. And from the 1970s to the 1990s, the goal of the USDA dietary recommendations shifted from a focus on receiving adequate nutrients toward avoiding overconsumption of certain food components linked to chronic disease like heart disease. Some of these things they wanted you to avoid was fat, saturated fat, cholesterol, and sodium. An emphasis on moderation and variety emerged in 2005. Moderation and a variety of foods. This changed up the food pyramid, and they started integrating oils as an additional food group. The 5 main food groups are fruits, vegetables, grains, protein, and dairy. In 2011, the USDA introduced something called MyPlate, and this was aimed to grab America's attention and provide a visual reminder of the importance of nutrition focused on these 5 food groups. So let's talk about the 5 food groups just a little bit. They actually have a myplan.com. You can go in and fill out the results of what you eat on a regular basis, and the questions are pretty interesting. How often do you eat vegetables? Green vegetables, dark green vegetables, red vegetables, fruits. It talks about the consumption of oils, nuts, peas, and soy products. And then it talks a little bit about red meat, fat, sugars, and protein by fish. So I went and did this myself, and I answered all these questions as a carnivore, saying I didn't eat any of these 5 food groups they were recommending outside of meats. And my results were I was a beginner and didn't know anything about nutrition at all. So I went back and took it once again, answering the questions and saying that I ate a lot of green vegetables, red vegetables, and all of their fruits and breads, avoided the butters, avoided the heavy whipping cream. I drank a lot of soy milk, and my results came back showing that I was a pro at nutrition. So it kind of shows you who's running the show here. In the pre-1890s, when the so late 1890s, like prior to this time, when the USDA started making suggestions, and I believe they were doing it for the good of mankind. I don't believe they were intentionally trying to harm people, but during this time, if you'll look at the population size, and I'm not referring to the quantity of our population, but the actual size of people, obesity was an extremely rare thing, and so were the medical issues that we're seeing today. It was just a very rare thing. Post food pyramid and the 5 groups that were introduced, everything has increased, including our waistline. So the USDA guidelines are not followed by all Americans. None of you probably get out the food pyramid and look at it every day and decide what you want to eat. But there's things that you have to realize of how important this is when the United States government gets involved with your food, telling you what you should and should not eat. They've put these guidelines out there, and people that receive funding from the federal government, like our public schools and our hospitals, they have to follow these guidelines. So what do you think your children are eating on a regular basis? Food pyramid. That's correct. So when it comes to your health, I think if your doctor tells you you probably should cut calories, start exercising a little more, and follow the food pyramid, or for a diabetic patient, you should have sweets in moderation because everything is in moderation. You should probably kindly excuse yourself from the office and tell your physician you'll be seeking health care elsewhere. So I'm not saying you can't eat these things on occasion, but it's just not something you can eat on a daily basis, and that's what most of us do. With that being said, I'll leave you with this final word. Remember that we eat to live. We don't live to eat. So stay healthy out there and don't fall for this pyramid scheme. It's extremely unhealthy. And if you do, I'll be happy to see you in my office down the road and treat you for some of your chronic diseases that you're going to obtain without a doubt.